I'm vengeance. All right. So I am Cody, your Caped Crusader, and we're here with our awesome friend, MrDarkPhoenix, and we're going to be keeping it geekly about the Batman. This is a complete rebrand of our previous show. It was cutting the shit. Unfortunately, YouTube and Facebook and all those algorithms do not like cuss words in the title. And in an effort to make this more, I guess, not kid friendly, but family friendly, something you can listen to without worrying about cussing being around your kids, I am trying to eliminate that per se. But there's still going to be cussing here and there. So without further ado, we're going to be diving into a spoiler-free take on the Batman. We're going to be giving you our thoughts as much as we can without spoiling it. And then we're going to be doing another episode in just a little bit where we give the complete breakdown. So MrDarkPhoenix, first and foremost, what was your biggest, I guess, impression when you first seen the film? When you left that movie theater, how did you leave feeling?
I definitely left feeling like, wow. Like, there's going to be a part 2 to this. We're going to talk about it in the spoiler part. But the non-spoilery first part, I left the theater thinking, wow. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know everybody likes to, like, and I've done this too, but not like to like the extent everybody else has. Like, I love Robert Pattinson as Batman. I wasn't on the train of like, oh, he was in Twilight, he's going to be bad. I'm like, nah, fuck that. Because have we not learned about casting decisions yet? Like, they said Michael Keaton couldn't play Batman because he was only in comedic movies until then. They said Heath Ledger couldn't be the Joker because he was in Brokeback Mountain, although he was in A Knight's Tale, and that's an amazing movie too. And they said a whole bunch of other things, and they blew it out of the water. So I was like, and Robert Pattinson does drama really well. And one of the things I love about this movie is that they portray Bruce Wayne being a complete nut job, which honestly it's what he is. Like,
I felt his portrayal was more of the brooding and like mysterious side.
Yeah.
I did see the nut job aspect to it, but for me, I felt he was more of a recluse, which Bruce was a big part. I think this film really focused on the detective side of him, though, which I think for me, that was different. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed what we seen of the Batman as well. I felt the action sequences were just good, but I do felt like we could have seen more of them. One of the biggest complaints that I had with this film was how long it was. It was a very long watch. And while there was so much good in it, at the end of the day, you've seen it multiple times. Do you think there's any chunks of it that we could have taken from it and still had the same film?
No. I definitely feel like, I mean, hell, I would have been down for, because Matt Reeves confirmed that they showed a 4-hour cut to test audiences, and I want that cut. That's the one I want. Like, I feel like everything for like, I mean, it was 2 hours and 55 minutes. So I feel like if it was like versus the 2 hour and 55 minutes versus the 4-hour cut, I feel like there might have been a lot more cut out that we didn't get to see. But from the movie that we got, I felt like everything was as cohesive as, as we got. Like, this isn't like, we didn't like miss anything. I mean, I'm greedy. I would have loved more Catwoman. I would have loved more Selena Kyle, but I feel like we got enough to whet our appetite, and it's could we have gotten more? I would have loved it, but from what we got, I feel like it was the right length for this being a detective movie, because and this has been like a long time coming, because a lot of people have been saying that we haven't seen the Batman's detective side in a movie.
Yeah.
And while we have seen elements of it, we haven't seen a whole movie where it's like it's dedicated to him picking the pieces together, solving a crime, getting the mystery done. And I think having Riddler as the first villain for this is perfect, because he's the character that's gonna make you think, And I really did love that. I love Catwoman. I really wish we'd seen more of her. I like the guy played Carmine Falcone, and in some regards, man, you don't even see Colin Farrell deserves an Oscar for this.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. The dude who actually played Falcone didn't recognize who that was until they said his name. He had no idea who it was. He just thought it was some dude who had just pretty gnarly scars on set. I actually, so I got to give it up for Andy Serkis too as Alfred. I thought his Alfred was just phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. I'm a big stickler for change, and a brand new. We had a brand new Jim Gordon, who was played by Jeffrey Wright, and this one of the very first times that he was black. And I enjoyed his performance as well. So Andy Serkis as well as Jeffrey Wright, both characters, I felt while they were new to the Alfred and Jim Gordon side of things, I felt they portrayed those characters just fucking phenomenally.
Yeah, I really did love, because even like, and we just talked about this earlier, but I just had to bring it up. It's so funny. Like when they first announced Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon, it was funny because everybody was like, obviously, bitching and complaining about it. But the one thing I was like, guys, he's perfect. He has that Jim Gordon look of being not only dead behind the eyes, but also insanely tired. Because Jim Gordon's
just
tired,
fucking over it. Like you could tell he's just over it the entire movie.
J.K. Simmons has that look too. If you like when he was in Snyder Cut, like when he was like, "I'll go to the roof," and I'm like, "Let Jim get some sleep, please."
Yeah.
Like, but
I don't know. For me, I'm not a big stickler on a character being changed as long as the person portraying it is able to nail the characteristics. We got a Jim Gordon, we got an Alfred. To me, regardless of their appearance, like they were able to perform the role beyond my expectation. Like they fucking killed it, So I think at the end of the day, we just need to see what it is. There's going to be adaptations to characters and roles, and I didn't see it as an issue because I felt like I was watching Jim Gordon the entire time.
Yeah,
it's not like it was like I was as invested as in his character as I was in J.K. Simmons' character.
Yeah, and like I too, I do like the idea of change. I don't like when people are always like, "Oh, they added a person of color, it's woke," and I'm like, "Can y'all relax? Because if y'all had it your way, everybody would be white." And it's just we need to spice things up a little bit. And honestly, I mean, Jim Gordon, he could be either or. Jim Gordon could be anything. He's a police commissioner. And I know he's not Commissioner Gordon yet, but it's just it falls off the tongue easier, like Commissioner Gordon.
So
like that.
you know what this implicates, though, depending on where they go with the universe, and I'm going to be careful where I tread here. This is kind of I just thought of this like right off the rip. Batgirl.
Are we going to talk about James Gordon Jr.?
Well, I don't even know if we're going to see that. I'm just saying, Batgirl. If we do see future. Because this is a reboot, so this is rebooting Batman. I'm wondering, we could see a black Batgirl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this isn't connected to anything though. This is often its own Elseworlds part of the.
That's what I mean. If they continue doing the world building, because let's face it, we're going to see a second one. So
I think, I mean, it depends on how many movies Matt Reeves wants to do. Like
I would say 3. I would say at least 3 of them.
Yeah, so then there's no way we can get them yet. Like, because I feel like the third movie would have to end, or no, the third movie would have to begin with Batman, with Bruce Wayne seeing the Flying Grayson show, and then teasing a little Dick Grayson, but then not doing anything with it if he's not going to do anything with it.
That they don't necessarily have to follow that route, though. They can do it how they need to get the character in there without really. Because look, I mean. The movie itself, without spoiling it, like the story, like we're gonna put a pin in that because I don't want to spoil that part.
Okay, yeah.
But oh man, see, and a big part for me too is like this was a year 2 movie, and I felt like we seen that with Robert Pattinson's Batman, like seeing his character learning and evolving as he goes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really essential to the year 2 aspect. A lot of people, and I think you were talking about this earlier too, were criticizing him for like just not being 100% like at his peak. But that's not who he is in the film because he's still like getting that sense of being the world's best detective.
Yeah, and like I did I mean, I've seen it 3 times now. So my original complaint when I saw it the first time was I felt like Batman solved the riddles too fast. But and not going into spoiler territory, but then towards like the middle and kind of like the end towards like those riddles, it's like, okay, he didn't figure it out immediately. He still had to think about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like I don't want them to put Batman on that impossible godly pedestal that the Bat God fanboys have him on, because I'm like, listen, he's not going to always figure things out on the first go.
No, he's not.
Like, and that's the whole point of a detective movie. Like, I mean, if you've watched things like Sherlock, with Benedict Cumberbatch or Robert Downey Jr., like he doesn't figure things out on the first go. So I was just in love with the detective aspects of the movie, and I loved how it was just a big Riddler's game where he was like, aha, you're going to figure it out. One of the jokes I made on Twitter was where I was like, this movie's going to be this movie's almost 3 hours, because when Batman gets all the Riddler trophies, he's going to fight Riddler in a giant question mark mech, like in Batman Arkham Knight. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, I really hope that they can tease that somehow. Like, not like, well, maybe they could do this for us, maybe for like us, the audience, like
so
finding Riddler trophies somewhere.
How did you feel about the Batmobile? Because that was something that's already been leaked, so that's something we can talk about, like just what it looked like. One of my favorite parts was when he went to go start it, and it stalled out because he's like actively building it and improving it. So yeah. I thought that was just. It was awesome to see his upbringing, I guess, his start to it, because like he doesn't do it good right off the rip. He's still learning and he's still getting it, and I think that kind of was a big indicator of it. Yeah,
like I do like his Batmobile, because I mean it makes sense for him to be a year two Batman with a glorified sports car. Like later on when the threats get worse, he's gonna have a need for like a bigger one. And like, I mean, it kind of gives me like Adam West Batmobile vibes, because it's not like, because I mean, and like the Adam West one, Michael Keaton's, and Ben Affleck's are like my favorite Batmobiles. Like, I don't hate the Tumbler, but I'm like, in a realistic movie, you put that man in a giant tank, he could have just ran people over with that thing.
Yeah,
like.
Yeah.
Oops.
So, how do you feel about how gritty and dark it was? I mean, it was like the red and black were like just the undertones of the movie. It was just dark and gritty the entire film. It was like the complete opposite of a Marvel film, and for me, it hit that spot perfectly.
Yeah, I do love how it made you feel like you were a part of, because like honestly, we're just gonna call it for what it is. Like Gotham City was based on New York. Like when I said Gotham Square Garden, I was like, I know that Gotham City is based on New York and in some instances maybe Chicago, but I was like, because actually, fun fact: if anybody's from New York, they had our people from New York 1 as the news people. Like how like at the end of Spider-Man. No Way Home, Far From Home. The second one with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
The guy that was announcing Peter's identity, that's our local guy from New York 1. So I just like how it had this New York feel to it, and I like how it had this like grim noir kind of take to it, and it really did feel like a crime detective movie. And I really want to see it like transcend into like, because some people are like, oh, if you take out like the Batman aspect of it, then it's that, and I'm like, okay, but let's just keep that in, because that's kind of what his character is. I know that like like a lot of times people are familiar with like the stuff, and automatically for me the fights, they were great. Like one of my least favorite things about Nolan's trilogy were how bad his fight scenes were, and I was like, I don't care if you're going for realism. Your tank becomes a motorcycle when it takes enough damage. I don't want to hear anything else about realism, because what real car can do that?
Yeah.
But I love the action scene. I love the detective stuff. I loved how you can see that, like I said before, that Bruce Wayne is a complete nut job, and I love how Robert Pattinson plays that, because Robert Pattinson is really good at brooding, and he's really good at acting with his emotions, and however you want him to act, that's how he'll do it. And he brought a new emotion to Batman where it's like, like even in the beginning where he was like, 2 years on the job and I become a nocturnal animal, and he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. He wants to be Batman all the time. And I love that too, because I'm like, I mean, and in some instances I know that it's, it's dependent on the reader. Like, it's up to us to decide, I feel like, in most cases. But in some cases, like, Bruce Wayne does hate being Batman. Yeah. But then in other cases, it's like he likes being Bruce Wayne in the daytime sometimes. But then he prefers to be Batman more.
Yeah, the Playboy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't wait to see what else they do with him with that. And I have a lot of ideas for villains I would love to see. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be working on that. That's going to be a fun series. But it's really great to see that he's reclusive and to himself. Was Wayne Manor partially burned or destroyed or something?
So we'll save that for later.
Okay.
Because we don't want to, you know what I mean, spill too much of the beans during this. But in reverse, there, MrDarkPhoenix.
Sorry, I gotta put that thing down, flip it, and reverse it. Like,
but yeah, overall, I really like this film. I was kind of conflicted on how much I liked it compared to the other ones. I was really trying to distinguish how much of me wanted to like it just because it was a Batman film compared to how much I really just truly liked it. And at the end of the day, I do feel like it did Batman justice, especially in his like early years of being a detective.
Yeah.
I like the Riddler a lot. I thought the puzzles progressively got more insane and twisted as we went. I was kind of thrown off by his costume, but I think the way Matt Reeves was going with it, his direction of the character, I think it ended up panning out well. To kind of paint that picture of the Riddler, which will break down that character a lot more in depthly. But just the sort of cult following that fell behind him. I think his mask was like a big part of that, a big signal of it, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I eventually grew, more fond of the getup as a whole. I would recommend watching it if you're on the fence, without a doubt. Check it out. Now, compared to No Way Home, though, how do you feel about this movie? Which one do you think ranks higher?
Oh man, that's an impossible comparison, because like, No Way Home is essentially
you got one ticket and you got to see either or film. Which one you choosing?
Oh my god. You see, because you can't make me pick between Andrew Garfield, because that's my Spider-Man. Like it's so funny because like I love both of them. I really genuinely do. And I feel like in terms of, because I love No Way Home. I'm gonna buy it on digital as soon as it's available.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, and I'm probably gonna maybe get the 4K if the box art looks good. But essentially, No Way Home is basically Spider-Man fan service the movie. Like, and that's not an insult. That's not me saying anything bad about it. It's just what it is. Like, it's fan service, and it's great fan service. And Batman on its own, like I said, I've seen it like 3 times. And each time you see it, because like, do you ever have this thing where like you watch a show or like something you've seen like 1,000 times? Like, I don't know, like if you watch Family Guy, but you ever like rewatch old episodes of Family Guy and pick up on things you never noticed when you watch it the first time?
How many times did you watch No Way Home?
I've only seen No Way Home once. I only saw it one time because that's when things.
But you've seen the Batman several times, huh?
I know, but don't worry. I'm going to make up for it probably with Multiverse of Madness, probably, because...
what's your defining answer then? Are you leaning towards No Way Home?
I mean, it's Andrew Garfield. I would
probably say the Batman, to be honest, because the way the movie was shot and done, I love the gritty nature of it. Like, I don't know what it is for me, but the Marvel formula, while it was awesome in its prime, it's starting to bleed thin. Like, it's getting to a point where they can't rely on that humor much longer. Like, I think the Eternals was a step in the direction to get them away from it, but so many people weren't about it because it was a more serious movie, and I think that's why it pushed them back from the formula, breaking the formula because of fan reaction.
Yeah, but like, and also the fans' reaction to the Eternals is also not warranted because, and this is just like from my side of Twitter, from what I've seen people complain about, it's mostly um, like the Fastos and his husband, and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, blah blah blah, it's so this and that, and I'm like, wow, guys, it's as if y'all hate the fact that we exist. Sorry, like, sorry to disappoint you, but I did really like because, and even like you said, like I'm for one also, and I've said this a lot, and I'm very tired of the Marvel formula. Like I'm tired of it always relying on humor. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Thor Ragnarok as a movie.
I
Like,
like Thor though, Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I thought him going up against the Hulk was like, I wish we would have got something better, but I'll take what we can get.
yeah, the fights were fine. I just don't like the fact that Thor Ragnarok turned what was supposed to be a destruction of Thor and his people into a joke, and I don't like how it had elements of Planet Hulk in it. I mean, like, damn, I know we're not gonna get those movies, but shit,
Planet Hulk would have been awesome.
like, I would love a Planet Hulk and leading into a World War Hulk movie, because like that's like World War Hulk is like one of my favorite comics.
I have the physical upstairs right now.
I have the comics when I bought
Yeah.
them. Like I was like, I have to continue
Dude,
reading.
when Doctor Strange is trying to control him and he takes his hands and fucking breaks them, I was like,
I was
oh
like,
my god!
I was like, nope. Hulk is pissed, and we can't do it. And he was rapping Mr. Fantastic
Yes.
around other people. Like, oh look, free rope. I'm like, only Hulk at this point.
All right.
Where he's this pissed.
We are getting off tangent again. Any
Okay.
last thoughts on the Batman non-spoiler take before we get completely spoiler with it?
Okay, so non-spoilery thoughts. I still would recommend you see it. Actually, the third time I went to go see it, this guy had taken his son to see it, like his very young son, and I was like, I know PG-13, and I'm like, I'm like, are you sure this is the kind of movie? I understand it's PG-13, but this is like, would you take your kids to see the Batman?
So I was considering taking my son because he's obsessed with the Batman.
Yeah,
Like just like merchandise and stuff, but they get graphic in the movie, which I enjoy, but I don't know if I would let my kids watch at such a young age because it is pretty graphic. I mean, without spoiling too much, there is some really brutal bashings happen. Yeah.
like,
And
and
not even just Batman, just like the way people are getting ended.
yeah, and I was like I said, I would still recommend you see the movie, and
I'm surprised it wasn't R-rated, dude.
even
Though it was heavily implied.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's no way.
I kind of wish it would have, but I get why they didn't do it. Because it makes no sense. Because like, even if they would have been like, oh, then everybody can see it. Yeah, but Joker broke $1 billion, and that was R-rated. So
Yeah.
I mean, but honestly though, if you're gonna do Batman R-rated, then I feel like let's say they get one, so I feel like for an R-rated movie, then you've got to do like Zaz and Professor Pig and like the Joker. Like you've got to you got to earn that R rating.
Death of the Family. I would love to see it.
God, could you imagine that? Like,
no, I couldn't. I don't think it would happen. But I would love it. I would love it.
It would still be amazing if we got that. But
I do have a big speculation of what we're going to get. So with that being said, guys, we are going to be wrapping up our spoiler-free take. This is Cody, your Caped Crusader, here with our good friend, MrDarkPhoenix. And
I don't have a cape. I'm just capeless, apparently. So that's fun.
one day you'll get it.
One day I'll get it.
He has the spandex, though.
I got the spandex. I
That
got
being
the
said, guys,
Robin.
we appreciate you keeping it geekly.